Good afternoon. My name is Brad Carson. I'm the Vice President of Operations for the Local Search Association. And as Greg mentioned, this is the building of the Local Commerce Operating System segment on the agenda. We know that this is that time of day where your stomach is starting to call to you, and it's also the time of day where you may be accustomed to receiving a cookie or two, but I'm not going to be able to throw those out today. So I'm hoping that the content of this session will take your mind off of your stomachs. We're going to look at how the local business needs are changing. We see that there's a less of an emphasis on advertising, and we see a very high demand for services to help the local business owner to build their business, their operations, and acquire customers and retain those customers. So in looking at this, we'll look at some opportunities. We'll look at some insights as to what is working and maybe what is not working, and we'll find out from our panelists what successes that they've had. The term local commerce operating system might be a term that you're not familiar with, or it might be something that you interpret different than others. So I will at least throw something out there as in maybe a broad definition or a loose definition of it, and throw it into the e-commerce bucket. Basically the selling of products and services over electronic media, whether it's the internet, a mobile device, a network, and these are maybe some examples of this. Might be a local bakery. They might have a need for a email marketing system or a loyalty program. There might be a hair salon that has a need for an online scheduler. It could be a auto parts store that has a need for inventory management and maybe tied to a shopping cart type service. So these are some examples of that, and we'll hear more about that from our panelists. And maybe I can introduce you. Sorry, I'm kind of tied to this. I don't have my little thing. So our panel members, I'll do a quick introduction. Ethan Anderson, he's the founder and CEO of MyTime. We've got Dave Gilbertson as the VP and General Manager of SaveLocal and Constant Contact. Welcome. We have Bob Gregerson, who's the Chief Commercial Officer of hibu and the CEO of hibu US. And we have Sean Harper, who's the Director of Product Management and Payments for Groupon, and we welcome him. Sean, I know that we were looking for a Harper son to round out our SON finishes, yeah. But we figured the odds are there. We got to get some money for that in Vegas, you know. But we're glad to have you anyway. So maybe I can start with a couple questions. You know, we mentioned that this local commerce operating system has its own interpretation. So we'd like to get your perspective on what that local commerce operating system means to you, and really how you're finding success in delivering that to your local clients. So who wants to start us off here?
I want to start. Okay. So at Groupon, we think mostly about small businesses. We don't really care so much about those big ones. And one thing that we observed, that maybe some of you guys have observed also, is that small businesses don't have any tools at all, and they just don't have a lot of help. They're really out there on their own. So the way we envision the merchant operating system is that it's all the tools that you need to run your business. Because we're Groupon, we think the most important part of running your business is keeping new customers and having good relationships with those customers. And it's all available in the cloud in really, really, really easy to consume ways. Because the way that small businesses consume services and data and software is totally different than the way that big businesses do. They just need it to be so simple, because it's, for the most part, one or two people juggling a lot of stuff. That's how we see the merchant operating system.
Any other thoughts on that, Bob?
Yeah, from our standpoint, coming from the industry, local search, right? For us, it was, looking at this from two different vantage points. One is just the classic, moving deeper into the funnel, get closer to where the dollars transact, get more important to the small businesses, and frankly, for us, act as aggregator. And, the way we got there is we went and looked at our own transformation and where we go next. Similar to what you've seen a lot this last 2 days, is we did a lot of focus group, filmed a lot of small businesses, interviewed them, and it didn't matter whether it was in Chicago or Cedar Rapids or Oxford in the UK or London. There were 3 themes that came back. It was help me grow, help me transact, and help me be more efficient. And on that efficient, it was, help me compete with the big guys, help give us time back. So as we were looking at the continuum, we said, hey, what can we offer, kind of all the way from the presence and leads, getting into the e-commerce, all the way through, let's say, payments.
Okay. So we have kind of a cross-section of companies here. We have vertical and horizontal focuses. So anything in addition to on a perspective or?
I'll say one thing is that a local operating system, a local business operating system, tends to be a SaaS play. It tends to be a piece of software, even if it's cloud-based, that manages everything except for delivering the service. In my mind, it could be accounting, it could be CRM to your customers, it could be scheduling. Virtually every single thing that is not actually delivering that service could be considered the local business operating system. MyTime, my startup, is a little bit different in that it's more of a consumer destination where the consumers can come and find businesses with open appointments and book those appointments and pay for those services, right through mytime.com and eventually our mobile apps. So I don't know if MyTime is truly a local operating system, but I think it's an interesting concept because we try to plug into every local operating system that's out there. So Booker.com this morning announced, I think, is a $26 million raise. MindBody has raised, close to $100 million. Groupon's obviously making a big move into the local operating system. Demandforce, which is acquired by Intuit for $430 million. They're definitely in that space. So there's a lot of platforms out there, and it takes a lot of money. These are big dogs crashing into each other, to kind of win this battle. We're kind of agnostic. We're we'll just plug into everybody who's out there and be the single destination for consumers to come and shop for services.
And I think at Constant Contact, we've become relatively convinced, after thinking about the local operating system for a while, that local operating system is something that I think Andrew Mason just thought up on his way to an earnings call one day. Because I have never heard a single small business refer to it that way. It just doesn't happen. When we talk to small businesses, they ask about helping me to get and keep customers. So we've really tried to narrow it down and make it as simple as that. What can we do to help them get and keep customers? And I think, Ethan, you're right, that a lot of that is a SaaS play these days. The nuance is that mobile is really changing a lot of that, in that it might still be in the cloud, but that consumer interaction on a mobile device all of a sudden brings an online experience into the face-to-face world, which is, I think, could be a game changer over the next few years.
Well, to that point on the getting and retaining the customers, it's typical that the SMBs are expecting a certain return on their investment. They're paying so much money, and there is an expectation that they're going to receive so many dollars for that investment. And to your point, and we've grown accustomed to delivering that kind of information. But to your point, the bar has been raised. Now they not only want their investment and return information, but they want to know how many customers have they acquired during this campaign, and who are they, and how do I hang on to those customers? So maybe we can expand on that a little bit and give me your perspective on how you're doing that and how you're kind of closing that loop on the investment, return, acquisition, and retention piece.
I think that's exactly right, that they want all that information, but as Sean mentioned earlier, they are absolutely time-starved, right? They are task-focused and time-starved and don't have the time to dig and dig and dig. And so I think the more we can be transparent, the more we can serve their results up to them very simply, the better off we'll be. One thing that we feel very strongly about is when you bring a new customer to a small business, give them the contact information to give them a fighting chance of ever being able to get those customers to come back. And if you can prove that loyalty over time, it just becomes incredibly powerful. And I would love to see more folks in the industry actually giving small businesses a fighting chance to turn these new customers into loyal and repeat customers. We know there's a demand for it. They're asking for it all the time, but very few companies actually take that extra step and are willing to give them the contact information.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to sell software and services to small businesses. It gets a little bit easier if you can be really concrete about the results and how that performed for them. Maybe give it to them for free and let them, pay based upon the results. But really the best thing that you can do is sell them those results directly. And I think that's one of the reasons why Groupon has been so successful. And we intend to continue along that ideology is we can't sell them software, we can't sell them data, they don't have time for it. We need to sell them the results.
The industry is moving from less performance-driven to more performance-driven, and it has for probably 20 years. I mean, there was a time when really the state-of-the-art was a full-page ad in the yellow pages, as you guys all know. Then the internet, there's TV, there's radio, it's all CPM-based. Then there's display ads on Yahoo, back at the beginning days of the internet, and that was like very trackable CPM. Then Google came and it became CPC. Then Service Magic and the like came and it became like cost per lead. So you can see like the progression is evolving to more and more performance-driven, more trackable. My last startup, Red Beacon, which was acquired by the Home Depot a few years ago, would actually only charge a business if they were selected for a job. And now MyTime, the latest startup, is actually saying we'll only charge you as a percentage of the revenue if we book an appointment and collect that revenue on your behalf. So at this point, like I don't think we can go any further unless we provide the service for them. So it's like we've taken it as far as I think we can go. And you couldn't have done MyTime 5 years ago. It would have been too early. Like, the small businesses weren't ready. They didn't have online scheduling systems. So you have to kind of wait until the time is right. But I think now this is kind of like where the industry is headed.
Yeah, I think it's, the historic bias has been that small business stuff takes a lot longer to scale. And I think one of the main reasons for that is there haven't been ubiquitous platforms that you can plug into. Like Ethan's business is a really good example of how you can grow something a lot faster when there are these platforms. Groupon sees themselves as a platform company. We're investing very heavily in building a platform that other people can plug into as well.
So we know it's important to understand what your past has been, understand where you're at today, but even more important, it's where are we going? What's the vision for the future? So I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on what you see as the future for the SMB or the publisher or the service provider, and really what steps are necessary to take them there. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, Brett, why don't I start it? Because I think it'll fit with these guys a little bit further. But I'll let them comment more specific to the SMB. I think my comment there is just they got to get in the game, right? Local commerce is where consumers want to buy more often. Certainly it's a big part of the economy, but they're a tiny part of the digital economy, so they got to get in the game. And relative to a lot of us in the audience in the industry, I think John Pierre said it well yesterday, is we get a lot of resistance within our organizations that that'll not work, or we did that before, or remember the three groups. There's the early adopters, they're the group that they're pushing against you, and then, we got to win the hearts and minds of those on the fence. And, to do that, in our case, we're doing a lot of piloting, testing, and partnering with companies like those with us on the stage.
I think the one big thing that we know will happen in the future is right now, 30% of offline purchases are influenced by online behavior, and essentially 0% of those transactions are captured online. We'll see that 0% start to go up to 30% as more people use, Groupon and Grubhub and MyTime and Seamless and Uber, all these things where it used to just be research and then there was the link broken. That's 30%. That's really a giant number.
I think like for MyTime, and Sean, you're gonna have to sign an NDA before I reveal this. For MyTime, I think that we started out saying it's really about customer acquisition and discovery. And sure, it's great that you can see who's available and you can book the appointment and purchase the service for anything from a chiropractor to an auto detailing at 2 in the morning if you want to. But I think where we're going to take the business now is going to be about retention and loyalty. Can we remind you when it's time to get that service? And then can we send you some open appointments? Can we look at your Google Calendar and say, God, you know, it's been like 6 months since your last teeth cleaning and you're free this Friday, and so is the dentist. We're going to suggest this appointment right then and there. Just click yes, you know, and it can be right through your phone with a push notification too. So it becomes extremely personalized. Some people will be scared, especially people over 30, because they don't want to give up that data. But the young people are saying, you know, I'm so used to like sharing stuff on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Take my calendar, take my history, and just manage it for me, because that just makes my life so much easier. And frankly, it's great for the business as well, because now we're doing all the retention marketing for them. And it's all performance driven, because we just take a commission or a cut of every single transaction. There's no subscription, there's no risk for them.
I think the vision we're seeing small businesses head towards is a time when if their best customers walk in the door, they know it and they know how they got there. I think it's as simple as that, and it's really the bridging of online to offline. I think Sean was going down a great path where there's always been this just strong gap between online discovery and offline connection that should be going away over the next few years. But if they can know when their best customers walk in the door and how they got there, and how many of their friends they've told, that's a big, big benefit for small businesses that shouldn't be too far off.
Yeah, I think even better is, you know, sure, you can tell them about their best customers coming in the door, but can you provide them an action plan for making someone who might not be one of their best customers into one of their best customers?
So I want to leave a little time at the end here for some questions from the audience, but I'd like to at least maybe, you know, give each of you an opportunity to address the question. From your perspective, what do you think is a critical success factor in serving the SMB in their local commerce operating needs? Just one.
Well, I'll start here. You know, in our world, and this is a major change for us as a directory and service company, is we're getting very focused on making sure that we're delivering, whether it's partner products or whether it's our own organic products, in the way that the SMBs want to be served. Our history in this industry, and I still hear it from my team today, is this stuff has to be sold. Well, there's a huge appetite to self-serve, so we're making sure that, you know, as we design products or whether we're picking partners here, that we can execute that through our direct engines for those small businesses that want to self-serve, or we can do it for them. You know, on the services front, and most importantly, we're, you know, continuous improvement, trying to get the delivery times down, and frankly, trying to intervene when we see that people are purchasing products, but they're not activating them.
If there were one thing I would say to this audience, that it's that as you go through a pretty dramatic transformation, which I've seen on stage over the last couple of days, as you navigate those waters, focus on enabling the small business's success, because your success will follow. And I think as an industry, if we can all focus on just that one thing, enabling the right thing for the small business, all of our success will follow. But it's certainly a philosophy that we've bought heavily into, and to track that, measure it, show it to them, give them the confidence that they can be successful. All good things will happen as they make that transformation into the digital world.
Sure. I mean, I would say, you know, step out of your own shoes, try to put your minds, take the mindset of a small business owner and how they think about things. I think I've heard a lot of talking about SEO and mobile apps and all kinds of different things at this conference. And I think that, I guess those are just more means to an end. What if you can promise the end to the small business instead? And you can abstract away from the means, forget about that. You can say, just connect your calendar, and whenever you have an open appointment, we'll take care of the rest. We'll advertise and market that for you. We'll fill it with existing customers. We'll bring you new customers. All you have to do is connect a calendar and never worry about it again. And by the way, you won't pay anything at all unless we're filling that calendar for you. And so you tie all marketing and acquisition to an open appointment. I think that's our vision, and I think that that's something that's much more meaningful to a small business owner than promising them, like, you know, the latest Pinterest integrations or something like that.
Yeah, I think just more generally, that's how we see the world too, and it has to be simple and it has to be performance driven.
I want to thank our panelists for this discussion.